Here we are, the first news episode of the new season. Yes, it's time to get back to the news that really matters. News about me and people like me. Now, I know, we missed a lot in just 3 short months. First, there was a revival of one of the most famous and my favorite tune of all time, Animaniacs. Yeah. Gee, Brain, what are we going to do tonight? The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world. Oh, okay. I'll bring a sweater. Nerf. So good. What else? Oh, there was an election. Where no one called anyone names and everyone agreed on the winner in a timely fashion. Also, I won the $1 billion Powerball. And those are 2 things that definitely really happened. But don't look it up. Finally, in case you live on the moon, in a cave with your eyes poked out, we here at Chronic Briefs were nominated for an award. Yes, believe it or not, in our first season we were nominated for a WeGo Health Award. Twitter, Best in Show. Yeah, I mean, I am the best, and this is a show. So, seems pretty elementary to me, Dr. Watson, right? Yeah, and thanks to the viewer or viewers who nominated us. Now, we didn't win, but heck, being selected out of thousands of nominees to be a finalist is incredible, especially for our first season. Plus, now, I get to go around saying, yes, I'm the host of an award-nominated web series. Ooh la la, yeah, I know. I'm kind of a big deal. Yeah, the other day at Wendy's, they gave me 2 extra barbecue sauces. Yeah. Pretty famous now, so don't be surprised if I ditch you losers and go host the Oscars. Yeah, eat your heart out, Billy Crystal. Yeah, it's happening, you clingers, so go find someone else to watch. Yeah, what? It's not happening? That's it. They said stop calling? You know, we have a joke that we do that thing where, and then I call you and you say to me whatever, and then we love, and let's not get into who called who losers and who may or may not be in big trouble for stalking the producer of the Oscars. The point is, we can get back now to what really matters, and that is news about chronic illness and disability. Of course. You know how underserved the community is when it comes to news they need to know. And we have 3 months worth to catch up on. So there's a lot. And it's super, super interesting as always. But not really, because it's mostly sciencey hogwash that'll put you to sleep. Hogwash? Am I 100? Anyway, we take that boring, dull, sciencey news and we strip it down and we dress it up and we shove it out on stage like your nephew dressed as a tree in his 3rd grade play, so that you can get the news about your illness that you need. So, without further ado, here we go with the news for December 2020. The Chronic Briefs News Network is back on the air, and I said we'd come up with a good host name, and oh boy, did we. I'm your host. You're going to love this one. I'm your host, Payne Daly. And here's all the news that's fit to print. First, a new study by researchers at the University of Pennsylvania are determining whether or not alcohol consumption can be helpful for patients with rheumatoid arthritis. Yeah, drinking! Is it good for your illness or bad? You know, it occurs to me that I know a ton of amateur researchers who also happen to study this very subject. Amazingly, yeah. Of course, most of them are studying things more along the lines of which type of wine makes me forget about this horrible crushing illness more, Merlot or Zinfandel. You know what? I'll just mix them together. Sacre bleu, mix wine? No. No mix wine. Yeah, stupide. French stereotype guy? Anyway, the study included just under 17,000 patients and discovered that those with a high severity of disease or greater disability were more likely to discontinue use and even not start drinking in the first place. Also, alcohol use or recent changes in use were not associated with disease activity or death. When considering underlying factors influencing behavior. In other words, all that gibberish means is if you kicked the bucket while you were drinking, they won't count it as a change in drinking behavior. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, I guess we don't have to worry about eulogies that start with Dan, as you know, loved his family dearly. But what he really loved was drinking hooch. Yeah, he was a real booze hound. Look. He said he was doing it for his RA, but I think what he really meant was hooray for Grandpa's old cough syrup. You know what I'm saying? Granted, it would make my funeral much less boring, but let's be honest, my funeral was never going to be boring in the first place. Yeah, I left instructions. Anyway, next story. Paging Dr. Google. Paging Dr. Google. You have a telephone call at the front desk. That's right. This next one has to do with that most horrendous of illnesses that we all seem to come down with from time to time. Googleitis. Yeah, according to a study published in Computers and Human Behavior, which is apparently a journal of record. According to the study, excessive use of social media for COVID-19 health information is related to both depression and secondary trauma. Now, this seems pretty much 2 + 2 = 4 to me because there was so much, and still is, misinformation going around about the pandemic. So much so that we even made a video during the height of the outbreak earlier this year with accompanying PDF that helped to detail some of the ways that people could help to figure out if the information they were getting was coming from a reputable source or a disreputable source. And now I see that our video was very important and had absolutely no effect on curtailing the insane and crazy rumors flying around. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times this year I've said to someone, really? 'Cause I gotta say, that sounds, let's call it dubious. What's the source on that? And inevitably the answer is always the same. Some guy on Twitter. Yes, folks, apparently some guy on Twitter is now the gold standard by which we determine what is true and what is untrue. I know. It sounds crazy when I say it out loud like that, right? But when you're on your 5th hour of searching Google and cruising Twitter, and you end up down a COVID-related wiki rabbit hole reading about how the vaccine is going to have all these little microchips in it so that the government can track how many pennies you're sending to Russia disguised as quilted cabbages that you sell on your Etsy store, well, at that point, everything starts to make sense, comrade. So, that makes you crazy, and that makes you depressed. So it's not a surprise to me at all that the study simply proved what I've known all along and what makes sense to those of us who aren't on day 3 of a COVID conspiracy subreddit binge. So, TLDR, folks, take a break from the COVID rumor mill. It'll be good for your mental health. Finally today, one more story for you since we have a bit of a shortened news this month because, I had such a long and awesome and French intro. Anyway. This last story, this is the kind of story I like to report on. Why, you ask? Well, because I'm an upbeat guy with a positive outlook on life. And you too can enjoy the benefits of healthy living and resounding optimism that makes any problem seem minuscule by comparison. Now, what if I told you, folks, what if I told you that my positive and sunny disposition could also be yours for just 5 easy payments of $19.99? What would you do then? 5 easy payments. I'll tell you what you do, folks. I'll tell you what you do. You have yourself a big old smile and you go on and live a happy life. Ha ha. Sorry, I stepped into my it slices, it dices, it makes Julianne Fry's persona for a second because, well, this story, it's like that and it makes me happy. This study from the Harvard Chan School of Public Health has found that, here, quote this, the tendency to believe good events are likely and bad events are unlikely resulted in a 22% lower risk of hypertension than those with the lowest levels of optimism. You know those people with the lowest levels of optimism. They buy a scratcher for $1, win $100, and then say something like, well, the government's probably going to take it all anyway. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Yeah. It's like, dude, can you be happy for a second? The study tracked 5 years of data from about 100,000 healthy, active-duty U.S. Army soldiers. Not a stress-free job. The link between positivity and lower levels of blood pressure was seen across all socio-demographic factors like age, sex, ethnicity, etc. Look, for years I have been quoting these studies that show that a positive outlook does help physical health and that mind over matter is a real thing. I know. It sounds all woo-woo, hippie, peace and love, man. All right. But it's true. And I know it gets hard and you don't have to be the super annoying, everything's gonna be great, What, lost your job? Well, just remember, always look on the bright side of life. The bank can take your house, but they can't take your wife. Well, maybe that's not such a great thing. Anyway, the point is, try to be more positive, and this is proof that it actually will help you, grumps. Unfortunately, though, it is time to be sad, because that's it for this edition of the Chronic Priest News Network. Yeah, I'm your host, Payne Daly, and thank you for joining us. As always, folks, if you liked the video, if you laughed, if you learned, if you hated me, please give us a like, a share, a subscribe, a tweet, a tag, Instagrammo? Whatever. The point is, thank you and remember, be kind, rewind, keep on keeping on, and we'll talk soon.
1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. What? What are you still doing here? Huh? Go drink, go. Go with your mix of wine and your Big Mac. Go, allez. Maintenant.
Big Mac.